Hey guys, welcome back to my series called Introducing, where I show you all sorts of rare and strange instruments from the past. Today's instrument is one of my absolute favorites. This is the Baroque guitar. So the Baroque guitar, or the chitarra spagnola as the Italians called it at the time, was popular between 1600 and 1750 roughly, although it was actually still being played well into the early 19th century. One of the things I love so much about this guitar is that it was played everywhere from the bars and streets of 18th century Madrid all the way to the court of King Charles II, and even by King Charles II himself, who studied with the famous Italian guitarist Francesco Corbetta. Now, if you've been to many art museums, you've probably come across the painting of a woman holding a Baroque guitar, or a man serenading a love interest under a tree. And in fact, people like me who specialize in these historical instruments, we actually use those paintings as evidence for how the instruments were played. Okay, so here we have the beautiful Baroque guitar. And if I hold up a modern guitar, you can see the difference in size. It's a much thinner hourglass shape. It's also quite a bit lighter. There are two main ways of playing this instrument: punteado, which means plucking, and raschiado, which means strumming. Here's a short example of punteado. Now the second style, raschiado, strumming, is really where all the fun begins. It's one of the best parts of playing this instrument because you really become a percussion player. The guitarists of the time developed all these really intricate patterns of strumming using different combinations of fingers, and I think by far the coolest pattern that I've come across is called a repico. A repico is when you take your middle finger and your thumb, and by rotating your forearm back and forth, you can play very fast 16th notes. So it's just like middle, thumb, thumb, middle, and you just keep rotating your arm back and forth. Slow, it sounds like... Okay, so let's go over the main differences between these two. Modern guitars have what are called machine heads, these gears up here, which make it very easy to fine-tune. Now, Baroque guitars use friction pegs, so they're very similar to violin pegs in that they're just wooden pegs that you turn and that are held in with friction. A lot of modern guitarists think that these are crude and must not work well, but actually, when they're fitted well, they're fantastic. Another main difference is that modern guitars use metal frets, these little pieces of metal here. Baroque guitar, instead of using metal frets, uses gut. And gut is intestine, dried intestines, which usually came from sheep. This is real gut that I have tied around the neck here. And a lot of guitarists today, again, would think, oh, how crude. But there's a huge advantage with tied-on frets, and that's that you can slant and move the frets to play in what are called temperaments, and they allow you to actually play more in tune than fixed metal frets can. The modern guitar also has a very simple rectangular bridge, but the Baroque guitar is a bit more elegant, and instead of a simple rectangular bridge, they've turned it into a curlicue mustache. Now for one of the coolest differences, the modern guitar has an open sound hole with a little decoration around it called a rosette. Whereas the Baroque guitar, fitting to its name because Baroque means highly ornate, the Baroque guitar has an incredibly intricate design inside of the sound hole. This is called a rose, and it's three-dimensional. It goes inside the instrument. And in this case, it's made of goatskin. So let's talk about the tuning. It has 9 strings total, but we actually call this a 5-course guitar. A course is a pair of strings that we play simultaneously. So you're thinking, okay, 5 pairs is 10 strings, and we even have 10 pegs here. Why aren't there 10 strings? And that's because all the sources say that the first string, the high E, was always kept single. It was called the chanterelle, which means the singing string. And actually, most guitars still have 10 pegs. It's just that this one is false. It's just for symmetry. So now let's compare this tuning with that of a modern guitar. Okay, the first string on the modern classical guitar is a high E, and it sounds like this. The first string on the Baroque guitar is the same. The second string is a B, and here's where it gets interesting. I have 2 Bs. 2 Bs, and I pluck them as one. The third string is G, and again I have 2 Gs. Next we have a D, and I actually have the same D on this guitar, but I also have an upper octave D. That means that when I play on that string, I get parallel octaves. Next we have A, and again I have 2 A's, but as you can hear, they sound actually 1 octave higher.